is a first felony offender. You are seeking parole. You're currently serving a life sentence for a first-degree murder conviction in 1974. You are parole eligible because of Act 544 of 2022. As I mentioned, your case has been assigned to Mrs. Jackson, so I'll just turn it over to her. Would you answer her question?
Good morning, Mr. Summers. How are you today?
I'm doing fine, ma'am. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How old are you, Mr. Summers?
67.
And how long have you been incarcerated on this charge?
48.5 years.
And how old were you when you committed this crime?
18.
Mr. Summers, I have to start off by acknowledging that in the time that I've been on the parole board, this is one of the most heartbreaking cases I've ever had to deal with.
Yes, ma'am.
The victim was just a little boy, toddler. And you just committed just atrocious acts of cruelty against that child. And so I'm going to tell you, it's going to take a lot for me to be able to overcome that, but I'm willing to give it a try, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you start, apparently you were 18 years of age. Your girlfriend became pregnant. She was 17 years old, and you all ended up getting married. Is that correct? Were you all married or just living together?
No, ma'am. We wasn't married.
But you were living together,
Common law. We were living together.
and you dropped out of school
Yes, ma'am.
and you were employed.
Yes, ma'am.
And what kind of work were you doing?
I'm the mechanic. I'm a diesel
Okay.
mechanic.
I'm talking about when you were 18. What kind of work were you doing?
Diesel mechanic.
How did you know how to be a decent mechanic at age 18?
My father was a diesel mechanic. He taught me a lot about diesel.
I see. How far had you gone in school before dropping out?
8th grade.
Did you drop out before the pregnancy?
No, ma'am.
So at 18, you were in the 8th grade?
No, I dropped out of school way before I met my girlfriend. I dropped out of school way. Yes, ma'am.
That's what I was asking. Why did you drop out of school?
I really ain't got no reason to say I dropped out of school for this reason, that reason. I just wanted to work.
Do you have any history of drug use or alcohol use?
I used a little drug here. I smoked some weed one time and got locked up.
That was back when you were 18?
That's back when I first come here.
Okay, well, I'm talking about before you came here. Was there any evidence of drug? Did you use drugs? Were you drinking?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
So you never used drugs prior to coming to prison. And did you drink at all?
No, no, ma'am.
I've been struggling to understand, Mr. Summich, how a person could treat a little boy, your own child, the way you treated the victim. Beat him, You scalded him in hot water. You poured rubbing alcohol on his little burned body. And then after that, you beat him some more. Help me understand what would cause a human being to do something like that.
No, ma'am, I didn't do all that, ma'am. The only I did, I whooped the child. When I whooped the child, and when the child it got to the point where he wouldn't quit crying, we brought him to the hospital. And that was the child later on died.
Summage.
Yes, ma'am.
He had burns over his body.
Ma'am,
How did his little body get scalded?
I can't answer that, ma'am. I don't know. Only thing I know what I did, but I know when I brought him to the hospital, he later on died.
Well, how would he die just from getting a spanking?
He wouldn't quit crying. He just kept crying, kept crying.
So what did you do when he kept crying?
He put the clothes on, we brought him to the hospital. At least my girlfriend did. My girlfriend put the clothes on, we brought him to the hospital.
Mr. Summit, I have the facts in front of me, so I'm not gonna argue about what happened with you. I know what happened because I have a police report, and this child was just, the torture that this child experienced. It's just unthinkable. And the reason that I ask you these questions is not because I don't have all the reports in front of me. It's because I want to know whether or not you are truthful and whether or not you own responsibility for committing this horrific crime.
I accept the responsibility of committing this crime, but before
Those are just words. But you just sat here and told me you didn't do any of these things like
I whooped the
scalding.
child. I whooped the child. I did that.
How did he get scalded? How did he get scalded?
I can't answer that, ma'am. Not truthfully, I can't answer that.
Why can't you answer it? You were there.
I wasn't there. I wasn't there.
You can, if that's your story, you can stick with it, Mr. Summers, but I'm gonna tell you that's
Ma'am?
not gonna me. It's not. All right, Mr. Summage, you had 74 write-ups in your time of incarceration. You had a write-up in 2017. Do you remember what that was for?
Yes, ma'am. I had $20. I had $20 cash.
And why did you have $20 in cash?
Well, I was trying to use that money to try to get me some cigarettes. I was smoking at the time.
Were you supposed to have cash?
No, ma'am. And I
Where
know
did you
it was wrong.
get the cash from?
Well, when rodeo time is over with, we used to go around and pick up porta pots. You know, the porta pots on the side of the road. And I found $20 cash on the side of the porta pot. And I just stuck it in my pocket and brought it to the dump.
And I see that the only programs you've taken are you got certifications for welding, for heavy equipment, operation, and you've got on-the-job training for being a tractor driver. But I don't see any programs that you've taken, Mr. Summage, that would help you become a better person. I don't see any programs at all that you've taken besides one having to do with welding and equipment. So why haven't you taken any programs?
I'm in program right now. I'm in English management. I'm in victim awareness and thinking for a change.
But you've been in prison 48 years. Why are you just now getting in those programs?
Back when I come here, man, a cousin with a license couldn't get in no kind of school.
But that changed, because we've seen several people today that have done a lot of programs.
Right.
And you-
Exactly. Yes, ma'am.
Did you do pre-release?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you take, did you take victim awareness during pre-release?
Yes, ma'am. I'm in
And what-
victim awareness now.
So you haven't completed it?
No, ma'am.
Well, how long have you been in it?
A couple of months now.
Have you learned anything?
Yes, ma'am.
What have you learned?
I learned to be aware of you not just hurting your family, you hurt the victim family also. Be aware of your victim family. You don't really have the right to ask your victim for forgiveness. That's something got to come from them themselves.
Well, obviously the baby can't do that because he's dead.
Yes, ma'am.
Warden, what can you tell us about Mr. Summers?
Ma'am, I don't need nothing, honey.
Alan?
I don't have anything further to say on him. I don't really know Mr. Sermons on a personal level to give you anything more than what you already have in front of you. I know that he's been working the same job, looking in his record for numerous years at the compost site here on the farm, and that he lives in our trustee dorm. But to give you more than what you have, I don't have anything to comment on.
How long has he been a trustee? You know?
Oh, gosh.
Nearly 40
Yeah,
years.
yeah.
Open the file, open the file. Oh, 97-year-old? Yeah, 97?
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Knox. Mr. Mitchell.
Good morning, Mr. Summers. How are you?
How you doing, sir?
Good. Mr. Summers, let's go back to 2017 when we got the disciplinary write-up for contraband.
Yes, ma'am.
And you said you had a $25 bill that you found on the ground by a porta potty.
$20. You said $25.
Oh, a $20 bill.
Yes,
The other bill doesn't exist. So you found a $20 bill and you put it in your pocket.
yes, sir.
Is that all you did?
Yes, sir. Now,
So
brought
why were you sent? Why was it so serious that you were sent to the working cell block and your quarters were changed? There's a little bit more to that story than you're telling us. So
Yeah,
why did you go to the working cell block?
I didn't go to. I never been to a cell block.
I'm looking at your record right now
I never been
on July 16,
Yeah.
2017, a number one. Went to disciplinary court on the 18th, and you were assigned to the working cell block.
I'm looking at
No,
the
no.
record. I'm looking at the record and it says it was suspended. The working cell block assignment was suspended.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that you did get assigned to the working cell block and it was suspended. Am I correct?
He
Yes, sir.
did get assigned, but he never physically moved from Camp F to the working cell block. It was suspended before he made it to the working cell block. If he would have received another write-up, then they would have sent him to the working cell block.
Say it, Warden. Do you have the write-up in front of you?
Yes. Yes.
So tell us about the write-up.
So the write-up was, the date of the incident was 7/16/2017. He was housed in, the place of the incident was Camp F, dorm 4 left, bed 79, and that was Mr. Johnny's bed. he's a Rule 1 for contraband, and they were doing routine shakedown, and one of the shakedown officers was shaking down his bed, and underneath the pillow, he found the $20 bill in a plastic bag, quart-sized bag, found the $20 bill under the pillow. And he also found a quart-sized bag of tobacco under the pillow. At that time, after that, the offender went to court, and they were sentencing to the cell block, but then it was suspended at the same time.
Okay, all right, thank you, Warden. So, you are awarded the cell block, but it was suspended. But what I'm saying is, you have 74 disciplinary write-ups and only what, 48 years of incarceration?
Yes, sir.
So now let's get back to the crime itself. You say that you gave the child a beating with a belt. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
It was a suede belt. Why did you beat the child?
Because he was being bad, and I really had a bad day at work, and I was kind of frustrated, and I took it out on him.
Okay, so was it because when you got home, the child was on the porch, he was frightened of you from the beginning, and he ran to his mother, and you were upset because the child, on the sight of you, ran to his mother because he was frightened of you?
His mother told me why he was frightened of me. He said the boy's father looked similar, just like me.
Okay.
Yeah.
And did you take the child to the hospital the day you beat him or the day after you beat him?
Took him to the same day I beat him. The same day. It was that night before I took him though. It was that night.
My report says that there was a period of time between 12 and 18 hours where the child went to sleep. He woke up and he was non-responsive, and his mother insisted that you go with him to the hospital. Is that true or false?
That's false. That was
Thank you,
false.
sir. Thank you, sir.
All right, I don't have any questions, so let's hear from Mr. Hunt.
Andrew Hunley with Parole Project. Would just like to provide some context to Act 544. Act 544 was sponsored by Senator Foyle this last legislative session because there was a recognition that there were a handful of 10-6 lifers who were still incarcerated. These are individuals who pled guilty to the crimes for which they were charged, and at the time, a life sentence was 10 years and 6 months. Mr. Sumage pled guilty with the understanding that he would serve 10 years and 6 months. In the state of Louisiana, moved the goalposts a few times to the point where life meant life by 1979. Instead of serving 10 years and 6 months, Mr. Sumage has now served over 49 years. I should mention that for a long part of Mr. Sumage's incarceration, he was a welder, and his responsibility was to teach other young prisoners to weld. And it's not something that was brought up, but I would know it was mentioned that he has some programming that he just started recently, but I thought it would be of note to mention that for several years, he was teaching other young offenders at Angola years ago how to weld. Parole Project offers our reentry support to Mr. Sumage, which includes housing, which includes case management. We would ask that the board consider the amount of time he has served versus the amount of time that he was told he would serve at the beginning of his sentence, and that we would ask that the board consider allowing him to complete his rehabilitative programming that he is currently involved in, and then be granted parole upon completion of that programming. Thank you.
And we have, I believe, Mr. Summage's mother with us. I think Ashley's gonna have her tune in.
My sister. That's
Okay.
my sister.
Yes, ma'am.
We'd like to hear from you.
Yes, ma'am. I had the COVID virus and my daughter gonna talk for me.
Okay, all right, thank you, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
What would you like us to know?
I upon my uncle's admission to the prison, I wasn't born, but from the conversations and the talking that I've talked with my mom, his sisters, about him. You know, they feel and they talk about it all the time about the growth that he has from then to now. You know, when he called, he's more considerate about things. He is more passionate about things. He's considerate about the amount of times he called because he don't want to run up the phone bill. He's able to express how he feel now, telling us, his nieces, his sisters, you know, I love you. You know, when I get out, I'm gonna make sure I do something, you know, special for you guys for taking care of me the time that I've been here. He the part that I do remember is he create these big banks out of houses. And it's just so fascinating to see and know that, you know, someone could do that. I could, and I've never known it to be done, but my mom has this big bank that we've been had since we were kids, and she still have it now. And, you know, during the holidays, he makes purses out of the pure leather. You can smell the leather and send it to us as gifts. You know, that's the only part that I remember about my uncle.
All right, well, thank you. We appreciate you speaking with us this morning. I want to just say for the record before we allow for Mr. Summage's
Ms.
statement.
Renata,
Yes,
the offender has actually left the room. He has a medical history of prostate cancer and needed to run to the restroom real fast.
sure. Okay.
Sorry.
Well, wait on him. That's
We
no problem.
apologize.
Thanks for letting us know.
He's walking in.
All right, Mr. Summage, I don't know that you were able to hear all of your niece's statement, but she was impressed with your bank that you made.
Yes, ma'am.
So we'll continue. I wanted to note for the record that there is a very strong opposition from the DA in Caddo Parish. I'll read it in part. Our office believes granting of parole would deprecate the egregious nature of some of this criminal brutality and irreparable harm caused to the child and the child's family. He has demonstrated he is a danger to the most vulnerable members of society. We oppose. Also, opposition has been expressed by by law enforcement, all law enforcement in Caddo Parish. Mr. Summage, is there a statement you'd like to make to the parole panel before we turn it over to Ms. Snedeker?
Yeah, I'd like to make a statement that
Okay.
that my heart goes out to my son Eric and my victim family and my family. I take full action. I take full responsibility of what I did, and I know it was wrong. I kept myself to myself for years, bearing that burden of what I did. And I try to keep from reminding myself of what I did. I kind of wrapped myself with my work over the years, try to stay busy, keep it off my mind. But it kept coming back. So I prayed to God. And I asked God to forgive me for what I had did. And one day it came to me. God said, I forgive you, son. You just got to forgive yourself. But as of me, my heart pours out to my victim family and my son, Eric, and my girlfriend, Carol. And I ask them to forgive me. Prison have did a lot for me since I've been here. It made me realize who the person I was and the person I've become. I had a lot of time to think about what I want to do with my life. I'm a born again Christian. I'm starting to be a born again for Baptist with my Jehovah's Witness brother. I haven't completed the class yet, but I'm working on it.
All right, all right, well, thank you, sir. We'll turn it over to Ms. Snedeker now.
Good morning and thank you. There are a few things that I would like to clarify with all due respect. With the arrest, he was not the only one arrested that day. And I understand that the crime was absolutely horrendous, but it does seem to be that there were two involved in regard that with the actions that he pled guilty to, he has taken responsibility for. With my conversations with the client prior to this hearing and leading up to it, he has expressed nothing but knowledge of his role in the crime, his actions, how they resulted, and how he's trying to move forward with his life through not just praying for the family of the victims and asking for forgiveness, but working to try and better those around him as well. Mr. Semich has spent time with Bible study in the past 10 years. He has held his job and remained a stable and reliable member at the composting site for 33 years. Within the past 10 years, he has only received 5 write-ups. When he came into prison, he did have a hard time acclimating and struggled to become a better man that he has become today. He has found himself through God and religion. He has bettered himself through the value of hard work and his effort to connect with God and have others connect with God as well. Johnny has been very intentful with his steps toward rehabilitation in the past 10 years. I understand that he has been incarcerated for 48 years, but within the past 10, he has really managed to turn his life around and turn around the man that he is today. And through some of the actions that he's taken, I do believe that he is ready to go home. So I do ask the board to grant this request for early release on parole with any considerations deemed appropriate for the success of Johnny's reintegration back into the community.
All right, well, thank you. I think we're prepared to vote. Mrs. Jackson will be voting first.
Mr. Summers, this is a very difficult case. It truly is. And maybe it was so horrible that you can't admit to yourself what you did to that little boy. No human being should ever have to suffer what that child suffered. And I hope that you will start to be honest with yourself and truly accept responsibility for just, the only thing I can call it is torture of what you did to that little boy. You're 67 years old. You've been in prison almost 50 years. You pled guilty, believing that your sentence would be something different than what it turned out to be. Don't believe that at this point you pose a danger to anyone because of your age and your health. So my vote today, Mr. Summers, would be to grant your release upon completion of anger management and victim awareness. So my vote today would be to grant.
Mr. Russia.
Mr. Summers,
Yes, sir.
and I want you to listen to me and listen to me good. You yourself and your attorney didn't help you in it this morning, trying to shift blame on the mother who's arrested at the same time. That didn't help at all. And I'm going to grant your request for only one reason, that you made a plea deal. And when you made that plea deal, you had to understand that you would serve 10 years and 6 months. The only reason that I would like to deny you is to comply with Act 544 of the Louisiana State Legislation in 2022, giving you parole eligibility. Other than that, failure to take responsibility and your attitude this morning, I would deny you. Based upon Act 544, I'm going to grant you this morning.
Mr. Summage, this one's tough, but I too will grant because of the plan you have in place with the parole project and Act 544 with the same special conditions that Mrs. Jackson articulated. So today you'd be granted parole after you got some work to finish up first before you can go. Good luck to you.
All right, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
That's it.
It's like, are you kidding me? Are you absolutely kidding me? I really don't know what I just saw. I mean, you might expect it from some of the parole officers, but for Miss Jackson to even start off with, this is the most horrible case that I have ever seen on the board, and still to parole him? For Mr. O'Shea to still parole him? I mean, what did we just watch? This was the most, just one of the most disturbing cases. Miss Jackson, to quote her, she said, the most heartbreaking case I've ever heard. You beat a baby. You scalded him in boiling water. You poured rubbing alcohol on his wounds. You tortured him. Then on top of it all, like it even makes a difference, he lies throughout his entire hearing. He takes zero accountability. Zero. He has no programs, 74 write-ups, which by God, I mean, we have seen a lot of hearings, and 74, it's up there. And just because he's old, 74, 10-6 lifer. It's unreal. There are certain monsters that you do the crime, you have to do the time. There's a reason he got life, and frankly, he should have gotten the ultimate punishment. You do that to a child, you take pleasure in doing that to a child. And what's his answer? He wouldn't stop crying. He wouldn't stop crying. To think of that poor, terrified baby, to see this monster come in, where it said that the baby ran to his mother for protection, ran to his mother for help, and she, of course, did nothing. We don't know what sentence she got. The parole project attorney in training had a pre-written script. You can't blame her. She's put in this impossible decision. But listening to what she wrote down in advance, you would never have known who she was talking about, some polar opposite person. But the idea to bring up the strategy, it wasn't just him. There were 2 people who went to prison for this. Okay, great. It should be 2 people dying in prison for this. Just to be able to stand up for a monster like this, it's so disturbing. The Parole Project would stand. I can't. The system is designed to lock up the worst of the worst, and this is a monster. You can do that to a child. You have no right to be in free society. You don't have that right to risk another child or another soul, another person, to take a chance of releasing a monster back into society. It's just disturbing. There really is. Richard found something where he appealed his sentence, but it doesn't. It doesn't show any details. And well, I guess what, I'm a little bit wrong about what I said. I said he was sentenced life. He wasn't. He was sentenced to the 10 years, 6 months, which was just some scheme in Louisiana. They called it the 10-6 lifers. They would say, okay, 10 years, 6 months. It was a life sentence, but with parole after 10 years, 6 months. And it was basically, Louisiana is infamous for corruption, and this was part of the corruption. They touched on it at this hearing, and we'll go over through some of the information. Part of his appeal says that he was arrested without a warrant. There was no grand jury indictment. That was constitutional, or I'm not sure, but they said that's. But so 10-6 lifers. Let's go into it, right? Louisiana state lawmakers initiated 2 bills to release 10-6 lifers from prison. The bill introduced are to parole those who have been incarcerated longer than the original 10.5-year mandate. This is written March 15, 2022. So a bipartisan push in Louisiana and the legislature has been revoked to give prisoners serving life sentence a chance. Between 1926 and 1973, Louisiana inmates who had been sentenced to life had a chance of freedom after completing 10 years and 6 months with good behavior. However, when the U.S. Supreme Court temporarily discontinued the 10-6 practice, life sentences were met with a greater penalty. And, there is a problem with this. Let's be real. You sign a deal to get, hold on a second. You sign a deal with the state to say that you have parole eligibility after 10 years and 6 months. A lot of inmates sign these deals who were actually innocent of their crime entirely, who, their crimes weren't that severe. It was more like just a thing that the DAs were handing out like hotcakes to get the system moving. So you do have a lot of people that sign these deals that would have never signed them. And and uh, and and therefore there's just straight up corruption. In this case, he didn't sign a deal; he had a trial. It seems so. It's a little bit different, but still, the sentencing judge, when giving a sentence, is taking that into account. Although I don't know why he wouldn't just get straight life. Now, a minimum of 20 years. Okay, so according to the state legislature, life sentences initially included a minimum of 20 years for those convicted of murder. Then a revision was made by tracking an addition 20 years. In 1979, eligibility, it's so funny, like I know that word, eligibility, but when you try to read it, it's all of a sudden. So it was stripped away altogether. Those who went to prison before 1973, believing they'd be released after 10 and a half years, found themselves stuck behind bars and at the mercy of the new laws. The majority said inmates who are still alive are Black. Thanks to Orleans Parish District Attorney Jason Williams, many of the 10-6 lifers have been able to regain their freedom. He petitioned the court to re-sentence convicts based on their time served. However, that only applied to 18 people who were convicted in the Orleans Parish jurisdiction. And we have covered a bunch of these cases that are just awful and they should never be get out, like in this one. And we all have also seen cases where, yeah, they should get out. We covered one where he still insisted 40 something years later that he was completely innocent, and he only took the deal because he knew he had no chance at being found not guilty in 1960s Louisiana. He wasn't even a local. He was driving through Louisiana when cops just pulled him over and said that he had done a sexual assault, which he says he had never done. And the only evidence they had against him was a fingerprint, which of course, one fingerprint in Louisiana in the late 60s. I wonder if that could have been planted. I believe he was innocent. I'll try to remember to put a link to that hearing in the description. That hearing sticks to me, with me. A real Shawshank Redemption scenario, in my opinion. Lawmakers are now attempting to get other states to participate in lifting the 10-6 ban. Stop it with these ads. I don't want them. Eligibility committed in crime, July 2nd, 1973, Senator Franklin, blah, blah, blah. Andrew Hunley, our very own executive director of Louisiana Parole Project, supports borough's efforts in creating, of course he does, because you get more clients, more money. And like this guy, right? This real prince. Now, I mean, I guess if you wanted, so this hearing took place in 11/29/2022, and we have not heard from him. He is still out of prison as far as we know. And for those of you who are wondering, we had covered this case some time ago, but I'm redoing some of the old cases. Especially the ones that really stick out. But this just gets me, it really does. It gets me fired up. I'm angry looking at this. I really am. It just burns me up that someone like this, a monster, could be set free. And there you have it. You might not believe it if you just see it. With that, I'll let you go.
Mr. Williams was arrested on April 12, 1969, and charged with the aggravated rape of a 9-year-old female, which he kidnapped from her parents' home. He pled guilty to aggravated rape on September 9, 1969, without the death penalty. And on September 19, 1969, 10 days later, he arrived at Angola, Louisiana, at the Louisiana State Penitentiary. He has been at Angola for the last 53 years. made eligible by a recent act of the Louisiana State Legislature, Act 544 of 2022. Opposition in this case comes from the DA's office, who is totally opposed to his release. The law enforcement area in the area is strongly opposed. That's in the Bush Parish. The victim assistant coordinator did a tremendous job in trying to locate the victim and the victim's family. But a thorough research, she even checked the genealogy records, and she could not find the victim or the victim's family. The victim would approximately be 64 years old at this time. Mr. Williams has a low risk assessment, a good institutional record. He's housed in medium custody. His current job assignment is on the water truck as a driver, and he is a Class B trustee. Mr. Williams, tell us what you do on a daily basis on the water truck.
I haul water to the inmates in the field, water and ice. And on in the morning, I pick up the ice and water. 7 o'clock, I take it to them.
And how long have you been doing this?
Since 2001.
In the last 23 years.
Yes, sir.
You must be doing a good job.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Williams, let's revisit April of 1969. Unfortunately, the parents of this 9-year-old want to go in to shop or do something, and they left their 9-year-old in the car because they will be returning in a very short time. So what came over you that went to the car, you kidnapped a young lady, brought her to another vehicle, and drove her to a very secluded area in a man shack and raped, molested, and brought up. What was on your mind at the time that you did such a egregious act?
Well, we had been out drinking, and I wish that I could do it different. I wish it hadn't happened.
So what time of day was it?
It was about 12 o'clock at night in front of the ballroom.
Okay.
And I come out the ballroom, went sat in the car. And it hurt me to even think about it because I feel bad towards her and our family for what I have done.
Okay.
But I can't do it.
Let me stop you there, Mr. Williams. You knew the child's family?
Huh? No,
Did
sir,
you-
I didn't. I
So
didn't.
why were you sitting in the car?
I come out the ballroom and I didn't know that she was at that age. And I come out the ballroom and I went by the car and I went to talking to her. I didn't know she was at that age. My alcohol told me she was over.
Somebody under 5 foot, had a baby face, You didn't know she was 9 years old.
but she didn't have a baby face. She didn't have a baby face. And it was night, about 12 o'clock, sitting in a dark car in front of the ballroom. But I'm sorry. I feel, because I know I hurt the family, I hurt her. I can't undo what happened. All I can say, I'm sorry.
So wait, why did you wait 53 years to enroll in sex offender treatment?
You understand what she said, why did you wait 53 years to take sex offender treatment?
Well, when I first come here, they wouldn't, they ain't had them classes when I first come here. And when the classes started, I entered to it.
So when did you first enroll in sex offender treatment?
When did I first enroll?
Yes.
In 2000. I started 100 hours, substance abuse, and anger management.
When did you enroll in sex offender treatment?
About about 3 months ago.
People, simply because you were parole eligible and you knew or you were told by your attorney that in order to get released, you would have to complete sex offender treatment. Is that correct?
No, I knew I needed to take this year. I needed this. This is why I took it.
Why did you wait 53 years?
Because they didn't, when I come here, they didn't have all these classes.
So sex offender treatment has been available for at least 20 or 30 years.
In 1969, they didn't have these classes. You had,
Sir, in 2000, the classes were available.
in 2000.
Yeah. So why didn't you take it sooner? Because you thought you would never be eligible for parole.
He's asking why you waited from 2000 to 2022 to enroll in sex offender treatment.
Well,
But simply because, and I think, and this is only my opinion, that you thought you would never be eligible for parole and you didn't need to take the sex offender treatment.
I thought that I would never come up for parole because they said 10-6 didn't exist. And in the later years, they came up and they said 10-6 was in effect. But when I come here, you had life, it was life. You was doomed.
And you said you completed anger management, 100 hours pre-release. Any other programs?
Any other programs besides 100 hours in anger management?
I was in lifers.
What are the classes you're currently taking? What classes are you currently taking? the classes you're currently taking.
Oh, what class am anger management, thanks for a change, and substance abuse.
And you started sex offender treatment about 3 months ago, is that correct?
Yes,
And my last calculation estimates anger management, I'm sorry, sex offender treatment takes from 9 to 12 months. Is that correct, Warden?
Yes.
So you have about 9 months left in sex offender treatment, is that correct?
we went through the second phase. We're in the second phase now.
Okay, so you still have the second phase, the third phase, and the fourth phase. Is that correct?
Yes.
Madam Chairman, I have no further questions.
Thank you, Mr. O'Shea. Did we hear from the parole project?
Andrew Hunley, Louisiana Parole Project. As the board's aware, Mr. Williams has served 53 years and is 77 years old. Due to lack of resources, Parole Project is prepared to provide long-term housing and support to Mr. Williams. Frankly, we are prepared to do this based off of his disciplinary record and his work record while he's been incarcerated. We're confident that at his age and with his characteristics, that he would be a good client. And so we're happy to offer that to him, especially since our organization feels very strongly about 10-6 lifers and that 10-6 lifers need to have the opportunity to come home. Is why we're willing to go above and beyond to ensure Mr. Williams has the support he needs when he comes home. One thing that I would like to propose to the board is to consider, assuming that under any circumstances that he might be granted, we're aware that the board would certainly want him to complete programming. This is just something we would offer. Phase 4 of sex offender treatment is training for facilitators. And oftentimes, it's been our position, not everyone is capable of being a facilitator, and sometimes individuals being placed in those classes puts a burden on Angola's facility for them to have to go through phase 4. We would simply propose that Mr. Williams go through up to phase 3, not trying to ask Mr. Williams to do anything less than he should do, just proposing that Mr. Williams is not someone who would ever be a facilitator for this program. But Parole Project is more than willing to provide Mr. Williams with long-term support, and we will ensure that he complies with any conditions that you would seek or place on him if he is granted. Thank you very much.
Ms. Fox,
Yes.
I'll interrupt for a second. I was looking through the Offender Williams chart, and in 2000, he was originally offered the sex offender course, but he was placed on backlog. And then in 2002, when it came time for him to take the course, he refused to take it. The offender declined to participate in the offered course. So
Okay.
That's whenever it was originally initiated.
We appreciate the clarification. Thank you so much. Ms. Francis, Latasha.
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead. We'd like to hear from you.
Hi, I'm Latasha Francis. I'm the niece of John Williams. I'm the oldest daughter of his baby brother. He's been incarcerated my whole life. I'm only 37. I just made 37. I visited him a few times while he was incarcerated when we were younger, but it's been a while since I've seen him. I want to let y'all know that he does have a family that loves him. Like all of his siblings are dead and gone, and we're pretty much all he has. That has me and my 4 other siblings. and my mom's still living, but amongst his mom's father and mother kids, he's the only living. And after 53 years, I would ask that y'all will find it in your heart just to give him his last few years here with us on the outside of Angola. You know, we've all forgiven him for what he's done, but throughout the years, my dad showed us that love conquers all. And we're willing to accept him with all of his faults. He still has a family out here that loves him. We all still love him. I have me, my 3 brothers, and my sister, and we were nothing more than to accept him with open arms if he's released. And I ask that y'all find it in y'all heart to grant him his last few years with us. Maybe we might be the only set of people that might be able to actually hug him outside of Angola. Thank you.
Thank you for participating. We appreciate it. I think that's all our speakers. So, Mr. Williams, before we turn it over to Mr. Mitchell, would you like to make a statement?
Yes, I would.
Okay.
I can't undo what has been done, but I feel for the victim, the family. I feel for them, and I'm sorry. I'm deeply sorry. I wish I could change it, but what has happened, it happened.
Right. Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Mitchell.
Yes. John Williams comes before this board as a changed man. Over the last 53 years, he's matured, he's taken full accountability for his actions, and he's worked diligently to turn his life around. He is truly remorseful for his offense and fully understands that his actions have consequences. Mr. Williams originally accepted a plea deal for his offense in 1969 with the understanding that he would be eligible for parole after 10.5 years. However, due to a change in legislation, that parole eligibility never came. Act 544 gives him this opportunity. Over the 53 years, it would have been easy for Mr. Williams to have given up, but that was not the case. Through his time at Angola, he has worked diligently as a water truck driver. He has been a Class B trustee, which is the highest level of trustee that he could be since 1984. And he is, after being incarcerated for over 30 years, he still found it in himself to take programming classes, to want to better himself, such as 100 Hours in the early 2000s, Cajun Rage. He's currently still working his employment with for over the last 20 years as a water truck driver. He hasn't had a write-up since 1996. He's currently in sex offender treatment. He's currently in substance abuse, Thinking for Change, victim awareness. Through Mr. Williams' programs and coursework, he's demonstrated that he's able to effectively follow directions. He's proven that he is trusted by the staff of Louisiana State Penitentiary through his trustee status and through his employment. In addition, Mr. Williams has been assessed a low risk with his Tiger score, showing that he has a low risk of recidivism and is no viable threat to society. For these reasons set forth, as well as the support that Mr. Williams will be getting through the Louisiana Parole Project, we respectfully ask this honorable committee to grant Mr. Williams parole under whatever conditions the committee deems appropriate for success upon parole. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I believe we are prepared to vote. Mr. Roche will be voting first.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Wait. You've been incarcerated 54 years in April of next year. It's a very long time. But you neglected your programming. This course was offered to you in the year 2000. You were put on the waiting list. And when it came available in 2002, you refused to take the program. But and I'm going to is saying that if you would have taken the program, you would have been granted today. But before this board complies with Act 544 of Louisiana State Legislature 2022, I want you to complete all 4 phases of the sex offender treatment. I want you to complete all good time programs that you're currently enrolled in. Thank you for a change and a few others. Also, you have adamant opposition from the DA's office. Strong opposition from local law enforcement. For those reasons, I'm going to delay your early release until you complete all the courses that I've just articulated. For that reason, I am going to deny your request today and ask that you complete all courses, all 4 phases, the sex offender treatment, and then reapply.
Mrs. Jackson. All right, Mr. Washington, I took into account your age, fact that you have served 54 years and you have a good institutional record. At your age, I don't consider you a threat or risk to society. So my vote today is to grant the request for early release.
All right, Mr. Williams, I too have reviewed in great detail the record and listening intently today. My vote would be to grant your parole to the parole project after you complete the programs that you're currently enrolled in, and I would concede to the 3 phases of sex offender treatment. So I agree, you might not be able to facilitate the class. And my vote is based solely on the legislative act that made you parole eligible and the deal that you made. However, I believe that since you are a sex offender, you're not eligible for the 2/3 vote. So the result of today's proceedings, sir, is that your parole's been denied. Take the classes, reapply as soon as you can. I think you'll have a different outcome. Good luck, sir. Warden Oliver, that's concludes our business.
Thank you.
Well, this hearing took place just like an hour after the last one that we saw, and I gotta tell you, low risk score. I just don't know where to start with this stuff. You know, they're basing it, well, you're not a risk anymore. Well, if you take the programs, you can get out. And it's like, are you kidding me? You don't have a right to be free in society. I don't care how old you are. Do you not see this parole hearing? Did you not hear what he did? He grabbed a 9-year-old out of a car. The parents went into the store. They left the 9-year-old in their car. They come back and she's gone. He takes her into the woods and he does what he does to her. And then at his parole hearing, he says, I thought she was older. The alcohol made her look older. Like it even makes a difference. He forcibly removed her from the car. How does someone like this ever have a chance at being paroled. The 10-6 deal, it's like I said, we've gone through it already. But you can't be releasing people who clearly don't deserve it. And two, you might say, well, at least Miss Jackson, Miss Renazzo were consistent. Mr. O'Shea, why would you deny him but accept it because of the, it doesn't, it's not even adding up. I'm just at a loss for words. You see this stuff and whose really is it? Just disgusted by the Parole Project. I get more and more disgusted the more I watch them. It's like they're just so, and I how do you feel about a case like this? Do you think that if someone is deemed not risk to society, that they should get a second chance? I don't. Not when you do something like that. You just don't. It should be treated as like a homicide. And I know that doesn't say much because people get out of prison for homicide after just, we've seen everything. Gosh, we've probably seen 10 years getting out. We've seen it all, but I wish I had additional information to share on this case, but I don't because it's just a child. So, if they signed 10 years and 6 months, can you even believe doing that? Like, oh yeah, whatever, 10 years and 6 months for grabbing a 9-year-old out of her parents' car and sexually assaulting her. What's the big deal? Then they changed the law. Maybe they always intended to change it. Who knows? But he should have gotten the chair, in my opinion. You have to get the chair when you do something like that. And all these years later, his excuse is she looked older. That's why he was talking to her to begin with. It makes me sick. You probably wouldn't believe it if you didn't see it. With that, I'll really let you go.